Okay, so in this episode, you want to talk about DJI versus DIY,
Yeah.
and you really want to, get into the nitty gritty with it, see how interesting it can
Well,
turn up topic wise.
definitely. I think it's a conversation we've had several times. Like, why would you choose, let's say, the Avata 2 over, any of the kind of DIY FPV drones? What's
Okay.
the difference?
Yeah.
What are the pros and cons of each? Because I think there are definitely pros and cons of each. Like, it depends who you are, what you want to use it for, how often you're going to fly.
Yeah, 100%.
Is it
Yeah.
just a tool in a toolbox, or is it like a main way of you earning money
Yeah.
and that kind of thing? So
Yeah.
I think there's a few interesting questions that we can
Exactly.
approach
Yeah, and
with
for
that.
you, it's the tool that you need for your work. You need it. It needs to be the best. You need to be able to have full control.
Yeah,
You know, build it yourself because you need to change so many different things on it for different jobs.
I think it comes down
You
to
know.
what kind of a nerd are you?
Yeah, as well. Yeah, when you show me like all these custom built things and you're uh soldering, is it?
Soldering.
Soldering
Yeah.
all of the bits together. I'm like, dude, I wouldn't even touch that.
Do you know, it's really
Cannot.
it's what was it the other day when I was trying to fix something on my Black Magic camera.
Uh-huh.
I thought the lens wasn't sitting properly. So when I was flying,
Yes.
I was getting this weird vibration.
Mm.
And I was like, and I sent you a video of me just pulling apart this like
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
1,500-pound camera.
Oh, I know.
And you were just like, what are you doing? And I was
Yeah.
just like, I'm playing.
Just taking apart gear.
I like fixing stuff.
Yeah, no,
And I
that's
like
fair.
and I think if you're really into like the nerdy side of learning soldering and
Yeah.
learning how to solder circuit boards together on
Yeah.
wires, and I think for me that's like a really exciting and satisfying part of
Yeah.
doing FPV. But also it's about being able to fix stuff that you break, because
You'll break them a lot.
as I always say, if you ain't crashing, you ain't pushing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's that argument to the side of it as well. But then on, the flip side of it, with someone like you,
Yeah.
who, you're obviously your number one. You tell me what your number one thing is and what you do.
Sure. So yeah, it's drone filming,
Yeah.
but DJI, it's not custom builds like you.
Hmm.
Mavic 3, Mavic 4 when it comes out. I keep talking about it like I've already got it. Can we talk about it so much?
You've basically got it.
Basically got
already.
it.
Yeah.
But obviously cameras, ground footage, interviews, lighting, I've already got my head dialed into so much of this equipment.
Yeah.
Even touching into DIY FPV stuff.
Yeah.
Over my head. Like it's too many eggs in one basket. It would be too stressful.
Yeah.
So I've got the Avata 2.
Mhm.
And for someone like me and a lot of other people, it's just the go-to easier option.
Definitely.
It's not going to be able to do everything that yours can do.
Can't it?
It can,
Yeah.
but when you're like me, you don't learn how to fully fly in manual because you don't have time.
Mhm.
You just want to use the GPS flying mode
That's fair.
in normal, I think it is,
Mhm.
which is enough. For a little fly through,
Mate,
for a business video, it's enough.
100%. And
Yeah.
I think the difference between you is you're using it as like an addition to what you're already doing.
It's an addition.
Whereas
Yeah.
for me, it's all that I do. So
Exactly.
it would only make sense.
Yeah.
Like, and we could say that about you and ground camera work is, I do it very occasionally,
Mhm.
and I don't really want to, but I've got a camera that can do it.
If needs
that
be.
I can just pull off a shelf. I know how to use it, and I can go.
Exactly.
Whereas, I'm not going to have the same amount of gear as you do in terms of, like, every time I look at your camera again, I'm like, what is all of this?
Just adding
Like,
things onto it.
Yeah.
Your small rig pieces here and there.
It's insane.
And that's what I think that's a good explanation. I'm like that with the camera stuff
Mhm.
because I love adding bits to it, and you're like that with the FPV drone,
Totally.
and you
Yeah.
know what to do with it. But yeah, it's just Avata 2 is great though, you have to admit. And that kind of must annoy you a tiny little bit.
I think it did when it
When it
first
first came
came out.
Yeah.
It's like, because there's definitely like an elitistness about being an FPV drone pilot.
Yeah, we fly the best.
As much as I try not to be, like, there's
Yeah.
always, and you can be like that about anything. It's like Sony versus Canon, right?
Okay, yeah.
It's definitely a similar sort of conversation, but I get asked the question a lot by, I've obviously got YouTube videos up showing my process of how I work,
Mhm.
et cetera, et cetera. And probably one of the most regular questions I get is, why should I get, say, a Cinebot 30, which is the drone that I fly a lot,
Yeah.
or should I get an Avata 2? And my answer is always the same. And these are from people who are just looking to get into FPV.
Mhm.
Get an Avata 2 to start off with, because it's by far the easiest way to get into it, because you've
100%.
got safety features. You know, if you get into a sticky situation that you're not comfortable with, or something which could end in a crash, you've
Yeah.
got a little
You've got that
button.
button,
Yeah,
pause button, which when I showed
exactly.
you, you flew it for the first time here, and you were like, "Oh, that's so handy." You were
Yeah,
like, "I wish I
yeah.
had that." You know,
100%, mate. And
you would make so much easier
there
for
has
you.
been so many situations where I could have done with a pause button for sure, because you know, like,
Yeah.
and crashing is part and parcel of
Yeah,
FPV.
yeah, yeah.
To be fair, I wouldn't really call it crashing. It's more
It's
bumping into
bumping and
things.
knocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not flying at like 50 miles an hour into a wall.
No,
You're doing
no,
small
no.
slow
Yeah,
fly throughs, you know, so
yeah, totally.
little bumps. Yeah.
And I think for a beginner, the Avata 2 is a great drone
Mm.
just to give you a taste of what FPV is, because it gives you enough freedom
Mhm.
while being comfortable and safe for you to kind of get into it.
Yeah,
But the thing,
100%.
I think the caveat I'll always say is, if you're going to get into it properly, you'll quite quickly outgrow the Avata 2, which is fine.
Yeah.
Um, but then again, if you're using it as a tool like you are, it doesn't make sense for you to go and spend loads of time figuring out how to repair the.
No.
I think my biggest concern with the Avata is, if you crash it, and I mean really crash it, it's done.
Yeah, you have to have another one.
Yeah.
You have to have a whole frame as a backup,
Yeah.
you know?
And this is the other thing as well, is, you know, the Avata's not cheap.
Mhm.
Like, especially, I mean, when you buy it, you're going to get the goggles, you're going to get a controller and the drone. But if you want to replace the drone every time you crash it, that's going to cost you what, 400 quid?
Well, let's have a look
Something like
here.
that. I don't know what the
So the
prices are.
Flymore is 879.
Then if you were just gonna
I know all in all 1,000, but if you just want the drone, it's
49. So
429.
basically, every time that you crash it,
Yeah,
you need to spend 429 quid.
unless you have the DJI refresh.
The DJI Care Refresh is great and everything,
Yes.
but okay, this is the other thing, is you need multiples. So for every drone that you use, you need a backup which can do the same job. And it's the same when we fly Mavics or Air 3s. We've both got a mini
Yeah, I've got a mini just in
that we
case.
could use just in case. It's
Yeah.
the same with FPV drones. I've
So
got two Cinebots. I've got another smaller drone which I carry with me, so I've always got a
you've got
replacement if I
loads.
need it.
Yeah.
But I carry enough gear with me to be able to repair stuff on the
Mhm.
fly as well.
Yeah.
So you don't have the option to repair stuff with the Avata. Once it's broken, it's pretty much
Yeah,
done.
exactly.
So you're going to need two Avatas, which is close to £900
Yep, but
at the
then
end
you
of
need
the
the
day.
batteries and stuff.
Then the
So
extra
yeah,
batteries.
call it 2 grand, because you need the controller and the goggles and all that stuff as well. But
Yeah.
the refresh care kit gives you 2 low-cost replacements.
Okay.
Flyaway water, collision coverage, a 3-day average replacement time.
And is it 100 quid, I think, to replace it? Am I right
Um,
in thinking that?
do you have to pay anything? No, you pay.
Well, yeah, it's a low cost replacement, so you don't get it totally for free.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay, and this one you get 4 low-cost replacements.
Yeah, so I think you pay
Right.
like, it's, I guess it's like, was it on your insurance
Oh,
when you make a claim?
oh my goodness.
How can I not think
How
of
are
what
we?
that's called? Uh,
Oh my God,
I can't believe I just
we're
did
having
that.
a brain. What have you just done here?
A brain fart. Like, my brain is not braining.
We'll move on.
Um,
We'll move on from that, because we've completely just forgot what that
oh,
is
I
even
want to know what it's called now. I give up. Anyway, so yeah, you've got to pay a certain amount to have that replacement,
Yeah.
which is fine, I guess. But then I've never done the DJI Care Refresh. How long does it then take to get you that
It
drone?
said it takes 3 days to receive it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad. I
Yeah.
bought it for the Avata 2 because
You crashed yours, didn't you?
more than once. Yeah, yeah. Here, around here
Did you destroy
on
it?
the studio. No, but
Okay.
I actually bought some things for it that go on the fret. What do you call it? The propeller props, the
Prop
prop
guards.
guards, of
Yeah.
course. The prop
I never know
guards.
what to call them either.
I brought something on there, and it kind of gives it a bit of a cushion when it was,
Yeah.
and it has actually helped, because
Mm.
that extra bit I've put on has already taken the force
Oh,
and not the frame.
and that's the thing. I think that's the biggest contention with the Avata is, on, let's say, the Cinebot 30, which is what I fly, you've got those prop guards,
Yeah.
and that unit is completely detachable from the frame.
Exactly.
So,
you can
and I've broken loads of
you
them,
can
like
just mix and
split
match
them
it.
all the
Yeah,
time. So
exactly.
I can literally, it's four screws to just unbolt that entire prop guard,
Yeah.
stick a new one on. And I've had to do that probably 4 or 5 times now, where I've just cracked them.
So what about video quality now? So with the Avata,
So
You can
yeah.
do 4K 60. I think it can do 120, but you can't have it in 4:3. You have to have it in 16:9.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, no, that's true. You can do
Okay.
4K 120, but it has to
Okay.
be 16:9. You can't do
Yeah.
the 4:3.
Oh, you mean at that frame rate?
Yeah, frame.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
4K. Yeah,
I mean, when I see specs like that, I'm like, okay, 120 frames a second, that's great and everything, but how often are you going to use that? I film at 50 and
yeah,
always
50 is
film at
enough.
50. I've never filmed anything where I could have gone, oh yeah, it'd be nice to have 120 frames a second. Don't get me wrong, there's situations where you definitely could if you were filming like, I don't know, racing cars or
Yeah,
um
fast moving boats.
fast moving boats and
You know,
stuff like that.
exactly.
But then, to be honest, if you're filming stuff like that, you're probably not going to use an Avata, and I'm going to get lynched for saying that. But in all fairness, you're probably better off with a 5 inch if you're chasing stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it can go pretty fast, but
was
still
it
at the same
60 miles an
time.
hour? Which is not bad. Okay, and sorry, just before we go on to camera quality, this is the other contention I have with the Avata. So when it first came out, DJI very much marketed it as a freestyle drone.
Oh, well, that's because it could do its own little flips, couldn't it?
Yes.
Because you push a button and
Okay.
it does the flip.
So for anyone who doesn't fly FPV, you've got two different styles of FPV drones. So you've got a Cinewhoop,
Hmm.
which is essentially what an Avata is. It's got prop guards. It's meant for slow, steady flight up to a point.
Hmm.
And then you've got your more 5 inch freestyle or 5 inch racing drones, which will fly very, very fast.
No prop guards.
No prop
It's
guards, super stable in the air, can do crazy flips and everything without a problem. And they are designed to do two very different
oh,
things.
100%. Yeah,
Now,
massively.
DJI very much marketed the Avata 2 as a crossover between the two.
Hmm.
And not to take anything away from the Avata, it does do freestyle a little bit, but it's by no means something you're going to use to dive down mountains. And
You can do it, though.
yeah, but the problem is you're just going to get a ton of prop wash
There was a bit of that.
and you're going to get
Yeah,
wobbling and it's
yeah.
just not
It
going to.
does wobble a
So
lot.
it'll work to a point,
Yes,
but it's not a freestyle
sure.
racing drone. It's a Cinewhoop, which can fly at 60 miles an hour, which is
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
But I think there's definitely a line between the two, so don't expect it to do the same things that a 5 inch
No,
freestyle drone's going to do.
that's where I feel like it loses out on massively. But like, am I going to need it for the needs that I do and other
No,
people? No,
no, no,
not
no,
at all.
definitely not.
So,
No. And in all fairness, I've used my Cinebot 30, which is again a Cinewhoop style drone,
hmm,
to chase go-karts
yeah,
at
yeah.
60, 70 miles an hour, and it did it
Nice.
just about,
Yeah,
and it was fine. And it's same limitations as the
of
Avata,
course.
essentially.
Well,
But
what did you use to film on the Amazon Prime video shoot that we did?
I was using a 5 inch
That was a
freestyle.
5 inch for
Yeah,
that one,
yeah, yeah.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Because I needed the speed because that car was doing 110 miles an hour
Yeah,
at
it was
some
quick.
points.
It's very quick.
And I was maxed out.
Yeah.
And yeah, when you're flying at those speeds, if you've got, it's all about aerodynamics at that
Hmm.
point.
It
So
wasn't a windy day, was it? It was
no, it
good.
wasn't windy. It was the flying, and this is the other big thing between Cinewhoops and 5 inch. As soon as you get a wind, it's a whole
Yeah.
different ball game.
Yeah.
The Avata in a light wind or no wind will fly fine, but as soon as you add like a 5 mile an hour, it completely changes the way it
Yeah.
flies, and you won't be able to do this similar things. Whereas with a freestyle drone or a racing drone, it just cuts through the wind, no problem at all.
Okay.
So yeah, but yeah, talk about camera quality.
Yeah.
'Cause I
So
think that's an interesting one.
yeah, it's 4K 60
Mhm.
and 4K 120.
Yeah,
But the 4K 120 you can only do in the 16:9.
but it
No,
also
9:6, 16:9. Yeah, that's
but
the one.
doesn't that also mean that you can't get gyro
This is
data?
it. So yeah, you film in 4:3, right?
Yeah, 4x3,
Yeah. So 4:3 it can only get to 60 frames, but 50 here in the UK.
which is fine.
Yeah.
Which is the same as what so I'm currently okay, sorry, slight caveat. So I was using GoPros
Hmm.
for the majority of what I was doing. I've very recently decided to switch to the DJI Action 5
That's right. Okay.
after a long time of not really being able to use it
Yeah.
for auto exposure issues, which it still has, but I've got a workaround for it
Okay.
now. So currently with that, I'm filming in 4:3, 50 frames a second at 4K.
Hmm.
But the sensor in the DJI Action 5 Pro is the same sensor that's in the DJI O4 Air Unit, which is the camera that's in the Avata 2.
Just putting question marks coming
Yeah,
out my ears right now,
yeah.
like, "What?"
You were gonna put that little, that video of the maths
Yeah, yeah,
equations
from
from
The
The
Hangover.
Hangover, yeah, knew that. Um, but it's important to talk about this, and I know I'm probably gonna lose you a little bit here, but
Okay,
we'll bring it back.
I'll
But
hang on, yeah.
it's important to know what the cameras we're using are. So when we talk about air units, we're talking about the camera module inside an FPV drone.
Mhm.
So traditionally, when I'm flying with my Cinebot, I've got a camera um, which transmits a signal up to my goggles.
Yeah.
So that's how I navigate or fly with the drone. Now, I've normally then got another camera bolted on top of it, the DJI Action 5 or a GoPro, which is actually what I record from
Yeah, and of course, okay.
because the quality has never been as good from the cameras that I'm using to fly
No, you
than
wouldn't.
a
No,
GoPro,
no, yeah, of
etc.,
course.
etc.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've currently got the DJI O3 Air unit in
Mhm,
my Cinebot,
mhm.
which is fine for me seeing, but it's nowhere near as good as a full blown action camera.
Okay, yeah.
But with the DJI Avata 2, it's upgraded to the DJI O4 Air unit, which has the same camera sensor as the full sized, action camera they
Oh,
do.
that's
So the
handy.
so the quality from the O3 Air unit to the O4 was a massive upgrade.
Yeah, okay.
So it begs the question, especially with the Avata, like you don't need to mount an additional camera on
Yeah,
top
it's
of it
just
because the
all
quality is good
there.
enough. So
Yeah.
it's an all-in-one package. You don't need to mess around with an action camera. It's just there, good to go. So if you're a beginner, that is a great way to get into it.
That's why I like it.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
it's great.
Plug and play.
Yeah, it's plug and play, and I've always been plug and play. I'm used to DJI drones just as you are.
Yeah.
They're just turn on satellite, bang, up you go.
And this is it. And I think the DJI O4 Air unit is actually better in a lot of conditions, such as low light,
Mhm.
than the GoPro Hero 12.
Okay.
We won't talk about the Hero 13 because
It's not.
it's broken,
It's broken. The other firmware. They need to
and
fix it.
GoPro just won't
They
acknowledge
won't
it.
do it.
So that's
No.
why I've stopped using GoPros.
Fair enough.
Um,
That's an interesting topic, though. So the Air 5, not Air 5, sorry, the Action 5 is better in low light than the GoPro.
oh my God,
Way
like
better.
there is no
But
comparison.
what is the exposure okay? Like we say, you're flying from room to room, different
Yeah.
exposure levels. That's where it starts to
Yeah.
break.
So
It changes too quickly.
yeah, so I'm talking directly to DJI about this. So
Mm.
basically, when the Action 5 came out, on paper, like every single spec just absolutely destroyed the GoPro, no problem at all.
Yeah,
Um, and when you do a side by side comparison of like a still shot, like obviously video, but a
of
still
course.
shot, you've got way better dynamic range.
Yeah,
The low light capabilities of that camera are ridiculous. Like it's magic.
it's insane how good it is.
Really is.
DJI are great at
Um,
doing that.
I had reservations about the resolution because GoPro's 5.3K,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the DJI Action 4 is only
4K.
4K.
Yeah.
But when I've done testing on it, actually bringing the resolution on the GoPro down to 4K yielded better results than filming in
I
5.3.
think it's oversampling. I don't think it's true.
I think I think I
5.3K.
think you're
I mean,
right.
you can't get a sensor that small, the camera that small to even produce.
Yeah.
It's a bit.
So I was
Yeah,
always like, oh, it's GoPro's
yeah, it's
5.3.
better.
And
Yeah,
actually, it really doesn't
of
matter.
course.
Like, so since I've been using the Action 5, I haven't noticed a difference
Okay.
in the resolution quality, but
Yeah.
the actual quality of what's coming out the camera is just huge.
So do you have to lock the exposure?
I do, yeah. So basically, the issue that I found, and they didn't have this in the previous model,
Mm-hmm.
was so when you're flying, doing an FPV fly through, you're obviously flying into from outside to inside to different rooms with different lighting conditions. So you'll generally leave the shutter set to auto.
Yeah.
And GoPro has always been very, very good at how it changes.
It's smooth, isn't it?
Very
Very
smooth.
smooth. Yeah.
They've obviously had a long time to develop it.
Yeah.
And it just reacts really well to it. So they didn't, and they did the same thing with the DJI Action 4, didn't have that issue.
No,
For
I've got
some
that.
reason, with
It's
the
great.
Action 5, it's too sensitive. It
Yeah.
changes far too quickly. So
Yeah.
I noticed if you fly into a room which is, let's say, lit from the outside as well as internal lighting,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it tries to prioritize the brightest light.
Okay.
So it'll make the room way too dark. But as soon as you turn away from that light source,
It just goes back the other
it's
way.
instant.
Yeah.
So it doesn't change gradually.
Exactly.
So I'm speaking to DJI about it. I've got a post up in the DJI forum.
Oh, nice.
They are looking into this and they're going to hopefully sort this out in a firmware update. I'm not sure they will.
Though they do listen to people.
They do, but
You need a lot
we've
of
already got
traction
sniffs
on
of
it.
the Action 6.
Yeah, there's nothing like fully confirmed,
I
but
think they'll
sniffs of it.
yeah, I think they'll fix it for the next one.
Okay.
I'm not sure they're gonna fix it for this one,
Yeah.
but I found a workaround where you just lock the exposure.
Yeah.
So
Makes sense.
what I'll do is lock the exposure at, I think I've got it set to, because I'm filming in 50 frames a second, I've locked the shutter to 100, and then I will just change the ISO based on the lighting conditions of the room.
Yeah.
And I found even if you're flying between different rooms of different lighting conditions, it's pretty good because the dynamic range is so wide on
Yeah,
it.
you can have a
I can fix it in post. So
Okay.
if one room's slightly darker than another, I can just bump it up in
So
post.
what's your ISO? 200, 400?
It depends. Generally between 400 and 800.
Even on a fully sunny day?
Yeah, inside.
Really?
It
So
doesn't,
even
yeah.
okay. You'd put an ND filter on or no?
No,
No.
not inside. It
But
gets
even
it's
if
too dark
I'm talking
otherwise.
like fully the sunlight is proper coming in.
I haven't.
You haven't had that yet.
No. To be fair, yesterday I was filming at a leisure centre, and the swimming pool area had a big kind of glass roof.
Okay.
It was fully sunny.
Oh yeah, true, yeah.
And I think I had the ISO down about 200,
Okay, that makes sense.
and I could still see the highlights in the clouds,
Perfect.
so it's fine.
Keep it up. I'm quite curious to see then as you keep doing it.
Well, so
'cause,
I haven't done a full edit yet.
Yeah.
On something that I've shot on the Action 5, but I'm literally about to.
Nice.
So it'd be interesting to see the results.
Yeah, how the workflow goes with it. Definitely.
The only thing that I've had to do is if I'm transitioning from outside to inside, I've had to just stick it on auto
Yeah,
and just a lot of the time when I film a fly through, I'm doing it in sections.
of course.
So for that one section where I'm flying outside to like a reception area and then speed ramping into the next section, which is shot differently,
Yeah.
I'll then change between auto and manual.
Okay.
It's not perfect.
Yeah, you can't.
But it's a lot better.
You've got to work around it.
Yeah. So
And
I mean,
it's the Avata 2 does that as well.
Yeah.
The light changes so quickly.
Yeah,
It's using the same
it's
camera.
the same.
So
I guess it's just an oversight from there.
yeah.
And to be honest, a lot of people who use action cameras are not using action cameras to, especially the DJI Action.
Yeah.
They're not using it to film the sort of things
They're
that
not.
I'm filming. They're using it for chest mounts.
Yeah, they
for
promote
extreme
it though.
sports.
They do promote it sometimes on DJI's homepage where they just have their Action 5 on top of an FPV drone.
Yeah.
And they're just like, you can
But
use it for this.
if you're flying outside,
It's fine. Yeah, it's indoors.
And to be fair, most people just stick it in auto and go.
Yeah, yeah.
How many people are doing FPV fly throughs?
Not
And- And FPV pilots are very much stuck in their ways.
Yeah.
Like I think I'm one of the first people that I know who does it professionally to switch
to Osmo
to
Action.
Action.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I've spoken to other guys like Luke about it. He was very interested because much like me, he's a bit bummed out, and I think we're done with GoPro now.
Yeah, I mean everybody wants the best quality, right? The shadows, the dark,
Yeah.
the dark for sure. You fly indoors, you want that dynamic range.
And we were just massively disappointed about the Hero 13.
It's not much of an upgrade from the 12.
Hasn't been from the 9, if I'm
Not
honest.
really, that far
It's
back.
really been that long now. Like the upgrades between the 9 and the 13 are so small. And you've had like little things like the 11 didn't have the 10 didn't have log. The 11 had log and GPS. The 12 had log but no GPS. And then the 13 had log and GPS. Plus it had a bunch of like lens mounts.
Right.
Resolution, the same.
The same all the way
Sensor
through.
size, the same. No difference whatsoever.
Right.
And I guess GoPro just kind of got to a point where we don't need to innovate anymore. Like a GoPro
Well, they do
is
now.
the standard.
They've got a big
100%.
competition. DJI is massive.
I remember having conversations with other pilots, and we were like, "We want a 1-inch sensor. We want 6K. We want,"
Yeah.
and they just brought out the same thing, and we were just like, "We're done. Like we are done."
Well, do you think the next Action could do a 1-inch sensor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're 1/1.3 now, so we're pretty close.
What's the Air 3S got? The DJI Air.
1/1.3.
So that's not 1-inch. Is it?
No.
No. Okay.
Oh no, sorry. The Air 3S
Air
is a
3
1-inch.
It's a 1-inch.
Yeah.
Could they?
It's not a true
could-
1-inch, but
no.
it's,
Yeah.
it's close.
I think they could bring that. I think they
I
should.
don't see why not.
Yeah.
Oh, Insta have done a 1-inch.
It's the 360.
Yes.
Yeah, the red and black one.
Oh, what it was called.
No, the Ace.
Yeah,
I think it's called the Insta360 Ace.
that was it. And they did a 1-inch sensor. I mean, it'd be nice.
I think, yeah, there we
But
go.
then DJI have
Ace
this
Pro.
ability to, I don't know how they do it, but the low light performance on the Action 5 is just crazy. I don't know how they've done it, but and this is what I mean is I don't want to dwell on this too much because we're way off topic right now.
It's similar. No, we're still talking
Okay,
action cams.
I suppose so.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that annoys me the most about GoPro is they've just stopped innovating.
Yes.
Whereas DJI innovate, 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 innovate. So for me, why would I not switch to the best product available to me? Okay, yes, there's Gremlins, but they'll sort that out on the next one.
Yeah.
And actually, if I compare GoPro footage to the Action 5 footage, there's
night and
comparison.
day. It's night and day.
You've got so much detail on the lowlights. You've got so much detail on the highlights.
Yeah.
The dynamic range is great. With a GoPro, as soon as you lose a bit of light, you get this horrible graining. It's unusable. I did a shoot in Dublin last week, and the lighting conditions were dark. Like, it was super dark. It was that type of venue. I put the GoPro on, and I was like, this is not usable.
You wanted to have a
And I
look.
was so lucky that I took the Action 5
Okay.
because I still wasn't dialed into using it professionally yet.
Yeah.
And it's so lucky that I did. And the footage that came out of it was insane.
Yeah.
I'll give you some of that to put
Yeah.
to
Pop it up.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Because the comparison is ridiculous. And we did quite a comprehensive low light test with between the Action 5 and the DJI, sorry, the Action 5 and the GoPro 12.
Yes.
But this is the other thing is there's an issue with the Hero 13 because I bought the Hero 13 to use instead of the 12, but it has this weird exposure. The exposure jumps
Okay.
to try and compensate for making it easier for it to stabilize the gyro.
I see. Yeah.
And I took the issue to GoPro and they weren't interested.
Really? They
Like,
didn't want to know.
oh, it's a problem with the camera. Send us the camera, we'll send you a new one. And I was like, no, it's not. You've got loads of other people I know are having the same issue and have stopped using it for that reason.
Okay.
Not interested. Luke contacted them
Luke Gale.
and they wouldn't even give him a replacement.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm done. I'm done with GoPro.
I wonder if anyone's tried the Insta360 Ace Pro 2 because it's got a Leica camera.
Do you know what?
It would be interesting to try.
I don't know.
If you were like given one just to give it a shot.
Yeah, if I was given one to
fun.
give it a
I mean, it's still
try,
1/1.3.
8K sensor, but then that's probably
2.6.
But that's probably but it's f1.8 on the
It's 1.8, right, on the Action.
on the Action, which is massive.
Mm.
And I mean, on paper, I think this is how old is this?
It's new.
Okay, yeah.
It's very new.
Yeah, it was the Ace.
It's
Pro,
very
the original
new.
Pro that had a 1-inch, wasn't it?
And it's cheaper, I think.
But this is the other thing.
And it's a 360 cam.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a detachable screen. It's going to be heavy. That's going to get broken very quickly. I don't know. Look, I can't talk that knowledgeably on it. I've never tried one. I've never even held one.
No, definitely not. But it is interesting. Like if I go to specs, so 13mm focal length.
Yeah.
It can do 8K, but I wouldn't really suggest doing 8K.
But 8K, you maxed out at 30 FPS.
Yeah, 4K it can do up to 60, but it can do again just like the Action 5 120 if you're in the 16:9. But you want to film 4:3.
Yeah, so for me, there's no reason for me to use that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I guess the other great thing about the DJI Action is it's got a D-Log.
Has it got flat D-Log or D-Log M?
D-Log M, but
yeah.
Still D-Log M is way better than the GoPro log.
Okay.
So, and the other thing is if you're using a Mavic or an Air 3S or an Air 3 in the same like film.
Oh, in an edit, you can make it come
it's so
together.
much easier.
Yeah, you just put the Rec 709 conversion on all of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's so much easier to match. I always found it so difficult to match the GoPro footage to the Air 3. So in terms of a workflow, it's a no-brainer.
Very nice.
So I don't know about that. I mean, yeah, if someone sent me to try it out, I definitely would. And maybe I could.
Hint, hint.
Yeah, maybe I could give a better comparison. But yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of FPV pilots moving over to DJI.
Okay.
There is a caveat to that, though. You know, GoPros you can make naked.
Right.
Whereas
that means taking off the
so you take out the main board and the sensor from a GoPro, and just power it directly off the drone battery.
Takes off the weight.
It weighs like 30 grams rather than 100 and
more battery lengths. More battery.
Yeah, you haven't got to worry about charging batteries and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's not a deal. I mean, okay,
the trade-off, right? That's what it comes
It
down to.
depends. This is the thing. It depends because, you know, we've obviously recently spoken about the new drone regs coming in,
Okay, yeah.
which might mean I've got to fly sub 250-gram
So
drones.
you're gonna have to go back.
That would then mean that I can't use the DJI.
Why not be the
cameras.
first person to make a naked
Okay,
action?
here's where it gets really interesting.
Mhm.
So DJI have about a month ago released the O4 Air unit as a separate unit
Oh,
to
yeah.
put into other FPV drones.
Ooh.
So it's now not only in the Avata 2, just like I'm using the DJI O3 Air unit in all my quads, I can now rip that out, stick in an O4 Air unit, and have basically, I say basically, it's not quite as good as the DJI Action 5.
Okay.
So
So you
in cases where I need to use a sub 250,
so you would do that.
I just don't have an action camera at all. I just record it straight off the camera of the drone.
So yeah, that's worth doing.
So actually, that completely negates the fact of ever using a GoPro again.
Yeah.
If you want to go down that.
So have you just come to this realization through this pod?
No, I knew it before.
You knew
but
about this.
I just.
You don't want
was
to do
coming
it.
to
Is that
it.
why as well?
I mean, okay, I've got 18 FPV drones,
Okay.
all with different cameras. Either the first generation DJI, which
Ah.
works with the goggles that I've got,
Right. You got
which isn't that, you know, because I'm not recording on them, it's fine. I've got some with the original Air unit, some with the O3 Air unit, but it means either having to rip out the ones I've got with the O3,
yes.
which in some cases are cinema camera drones, which cost, you know, 4 or 5 times the amount of the tiny little ones I'm flying.
That's
So
a good point. It's a lot of DIY to go through.
yeah, but also when DJI released the Air unit, it's got a different mounting system. So I'd have to get someone to design or wait for someone to design another mount so that I can fit the
That will
new
happen.
camera.
It will
Oh,
happen.
for sure. And people are now releasing, you know, Gep RC have now got a Cinolog 30 and a Cinolog 35 with a new O4 Air unit in it. So that's, yeah, I think if we get a bit more time, there's going to be a lot more drones available with that camera in
Okay.
it, which almost
10 months now.
negates the
No?
fact for having
Yeah.
a action camera at all.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There's another option.
I mean,
you've got a bit of time before January 1st to get this all sorted.
but I think actually, I probably should have thought about that in our last video. Is actually,
Yeah. Well, we're talking about it now, so
it didn't click. Is that's the way you will overcome the new laws
right
around?
I'm sure that's in the comments. Like,
anything sub 250, yeah, anything sub 250.
You're gonna have to put
You
an Air
just use
unit.
the O4 Air unit and just fly a much lighter quad.
Would it be Air 5 by then?
No,
Time?
I think we're gonna.
Takes a lot longer.
Generally about 2 years.
Oh right, okay.
So between, I think O3 came out, and when did the Avata 1 come out? 2022. I think it was. Google it. Sorry.
The Avata 1.
Avata 1, because the Avata 1 was an O3 Air unit. That's the first time we saw the O3 Air
2009. No, that's the movie.
Brilliant.
Oh my goodness.
Stop typing your avatar.
It's Google keeps
I know.
giving it.
When August 2022.
Yeah.
So that's the first time we saw the
2009.
O3 Air unit.
Yeah.
And then Avata came out in 2024.
Nice.
So about 2 years.
Every 2 years.
So, but I think the O4 Air unit will be the standard for quite a while. But it's also, they've made it backwards compatible, so you can use the goggles that I'm on are 2 generations behind what we're actually on.
Okay.
So it's a really interesting, yeah. And I haven't switched simply because I've had no need, because I'm not filming on board the drone. It's always done from an action camera. But you know, with the new regulations coming in and not being able to fly sub 500-gram drones in the same, you know, box as a sub 250,
yes,
I'll probably have to move if I want to fly close to people to sub 250. So it just means, okay, don't carry an action camera, just use the onboard O4.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, the onboard O4 unit is never going to be as good as a fully fledged action camera, because you've just got that much more room to have features.
Yeah.
And if you watch a side-by-side comparison, the Action 5 is better.
Yeah. Of course.
There's not much in it.
It would be all the time,
but the O4 is better than a GoPro. So, yeah.
We'll finish this with some leaks here. So I know, yeah, DJI FPV2.
What?
So this would have been the original FPV that they released.
You've been hiding this.
Yeah, I have been. So this is going to be their non-cine whoop answer, because you were talking about, you know, the Avata 2 being too silly whoopy, and they're trying to label it as like almost like a as a 5-inch style drone.
Okay.
Not sure the right terminology.
But also their original DJI FPV
was
drone
more open.
was terrible.
Yeah. So these are all extremely, you know, take it with a pinch of salt. But it's saying 48 megapixels, 1/1.3 CMOS sensor.
Okay, so it's an 04 Air unit.
Yeah. So, and that's pretty much it. To be honest with you, that's all there is.
So essentially, what it's going to be is an Avata 2 without prop guards.
Yeah.
But it will be capable of. It's probably a. How many inches does it say? It'll probably be a 5-inch. It'll probably be a 5-inch. 5-inch.
It would make
size
sense
over a 3-inch.
Yeah, no, it would make sense to be, you know, a 5-inch. But no, this is not really good.
It's going to be, yeah, it's going to be essentially a bigger Avata without the prop guard, so that it is a true FPV freestyle drone with DJI capabilities such as obstacle avoidance,
Exactly.
safety features, probably a 2-axis gimbal, because that was another big thing about the Avata, is the ability to move the camera up and down.
Yeah, that was really helpful because you could see a bit more where you were. But you know,
head tracking as well.
I did have head tracking. Yeah, if you were using the motion controller.
Yeah.
Oh no, you can just do that with your head anyway. But
yeah. Which a lot of people have tried to do with DIY FPV drones, is building in systems.
I've seen that
where you've got head tracking, so you can move the gimbal as you.
Yeah.
And it produces some really interesting and creative shots.
Right.
But it's just never caught on. A bit like how invisible 360 drones have never really caught on.
Right.
And I tried to go into that, but the tech was just too old.
Okay.
So yeah, and I think, but yeah, I mean, back to the original question, I think if you're just getting into FPV, the Avata 2 is a great shout. Like, it
highly
really
recommend
is.
it.
Just get into it, and you may well stick with that, but then it'll probably open you up, and it's a gateway drug.
Yeah,
for sure.
it's a gateway
Like,
drone.
It really is, but
Yeah,
you'll either outgrow it quickly, or you'll just stick with the DJI, DJI tech in that sense.
They're super fun.
They're really good. I mean,
You know,
the Avata one was debatable. It had a lot of problems, batteries falling out midair. That's
oh my god, I remember that.
so bad. But the original FPV was just, it was like a monster.
Yeah, that thing was dangerous.
It was a killer.
Yeah, I've had a crash with that. I don't want to mention who I was working for, but I've had a crash with it. Yeah, scary.
And I think DJI, like I said, are really innovating, and I think we're going to see some really interesting FPV drones from them. I don't think it'll ever be the choice for a seasoned professional.
They'd have
FPV
to come out punching to make it like that.
Yeah.
They really would have to be like, this is for you.
The biggest difference is they have to make it fixable.
Oh, that's true.
Which I don't think they'll ever do,
Right.
because it's a money thing for them, and they'll want their drones to look cool. I mean, FPV drones look shocking.
Yeah,
they're just simple. All you've got is an ESC, a flight controller, 4 motors, and a battery, and a camera. Their simplicity is part of the appeal of it, because anyone can build one. They all use the same software, and you can change them, and a lot of pilots will have a particular set of electronic components they like to use, whereas with DJI, you're pretty much stuck with whatever they put in there. Let alone drone bands when it comes to talking about DJI.
Yeah, exactly.
That's something else to consider as well. Anyone who flies a DJI aircraft might have a problem in the future where they all get banned, which would probably include FPV drones, because we're all using the DJI Air Unit.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, that's probably a conversation for another time.
So much to think about.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, if I was starting off, get an Avata 2 and then see where it takes you.
Cool. Yeah, that will make sense. But we'll leave it for the next episode.
That was a fun one.
It was good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Super, man.
So yeah, awesome. Thanks, Steve.
Good stuff.